is over 80 now, and for many fans, his career still feels like one long, tragic mistake. How did a man who became world champion end up remembered as a placeholder, a jobber, and a walking contradiction? In 1987, Ron Garvin did something that shocked the wrestling world. At 42 years old, he beat Ric Flair for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But this wasn't a fairy tale story. This was a booking disaster that almost killed a company. The whole thing started as a desperate move. Jim Crockett Promotions was at war with the WWF. They needed someone to hold the belt until Starrcade. Most top stars said no. They didn't want to be a placeholder. But Garvin? He said yes. He knew this might be his last shot at the big time. What happened next was a mess. Garvin held the title for 2 months. He defended it plenty, but only on house shows. On TV, he fought nobodies. Fans saw him beat Tommy Angel and George South. They didn't see him battle Ric Flair or Tully Blanchard. Those matches happened in small towns where cameras couldn't go. The fans hated it. At Starrcade in Chicago, they chanted, "Garvin sucks." They wanted Flair back. They didn't care about some old-timer from Canada. Garvin looked out of place. He was too Southern for a national audience. He was too real for the cartoon world wrestling was becoming. The numbers don't lie. TV ratings dropped 40% during Garvin's reign. Attendance fell off a cliff. The NWA's TV show fell out of the top 15. Even smaller companies like AWA and Glow were beating them. The Atlanta Omni, once packed for wrestling, drew only 3,800 fans. That was embarrassing. Starrcade 1987 was supposed to save the company. Instead, it nearly buried it. The pay-per-view got a 3.30 buy rate. The WWF Survivor Series 7.0. Vince McMahon had threatened cable companies. He said if they carried Starrcade, they couldn't have WrestleMania. It worked. But here's the weird part. Garvin didn't seem to care. He said he never wanted to be champion for years anyway. The job was too hard, too much travel, too many interviews, too much politics. He just wanted to wrestle and go home. Once he got his childhood dream, he lost his drive. "I didn't care," Garvin said later. "I made money, and then when the belt went to Flair, I was gone. I don't play politics. I refuse to do it." That's not what you expect from a world champion. Most guys would kill for that spot. Garvin treated it like a chore. After losing the belt back to Flair, Garvin left the NWA. He went to the WWF in 1988. If his NWA run was bad, his WWF run was worse. Much worse. The WWF turned him into a joke. They made him a referee who punched wrestlers. They had him announce matches and mock other guys. Sometimes he wrestled, but usually as a jobber. He beat Greg Valentine in one big match. But that was it. Most of the time, he lost. Wrestling fans called him old, dull, and depressing. He looked like everything the WWF was trying to get away from. While other guys wore bright colors and cut flashy promos, Garvin looked like he belonged in a bar fight. Jim Cornette called him the Barney Rubble of professional wrestling. That wasn't a compliment. The WWF was becoming a cartoon. Garvin was still trying to be real. He didn't fit. His tough guy act worked in the South. In New York, it looked outdated. Kids wanted superheroes, not some guy who looked like their angry uncle. This brings us to the big question. Why didn't fans connect with Ron Garvin? His promo skills were weak. His brother Jimmy was better on the mic. Jimmy had more charisma. Jimmy looked like a star. Ron looked like a construction worker who wandered into the wrong building. Garvin's whole gimmick was his hands of stone. He was a boxer who became a wrestler. He hit hard. He was tough. But fans didn't want tough anymore. They wanted spectacle. They wanted Hulk Hogan posing and Ric Flair strutting. Garvin just stood there and scowled. Compared to the new generation of stars, Garvin seemed ancient. Wrestling was changing fast. Fans wanted entertainment, not realism. They wanted stories, not just fights. Garvin was stuck in the past while everyone else moved to the future. The physical toll was massive too. Garvin's shoulder was destroyed. He hurt it in the 1970s and never let it heal. He kept wrestling with it. In the 1980s, he hurt it again. Still didn't take time off. Just 10 days and back to work. The worst injury came during a match with Randy Savage. Garvin got dropped on concrete. He felt an electric shock down his spine. He couldn't move his legs. Doctors said it was spinal shock. A rare injury that could have ended his career or his life. But Garvin was back wrestling 10 days later. His legs were still blue from the impact. His butt was purple. He could barely walk. But he wouldn't quit. That was the culture back then. You worked hurt or you didn't work at all. By 1995, Garvin's shoulder was so bad he couldn't sleep. He couldn't lift his arm. He couldn't even scratch his head. Finally, in 1998, he got surgery, a torn rotator cuff that had been getting worse for 20 years. The doctor fixed it, but the damage was done. All these injuries came from a simple fact. Garvin was too tough for his own good. He never took time to heal. He never said no to a match. He treated his body like a machine. But machines break down. So did he. The championship demands made everything worse. Being NWA champion meant constant travel, extra interviews, meet and greets, appearances at shopping malls. It never stopped. Regular wrestlers just had to wrestle. Champions had to be politicians too. Garvin hated that part. He didn't want to shake hands and kiss babies. He didn't want to play corporate games. He just wanted to fight. But being champion meant being a businessman. Garvin was a terrible businessman. He admitted he would never have wanted the title for 3 years. Too much work, too much stress, too many people wanting things from him. He took the belt because he was 42 and it was his last chance. But he never wanted to keep it. Once he achieved his childhood dream, something died inside him. He lost his hunger. He stopped caring about being the best. He just wanted to survive until retirement. That's not champion material. That's just sad. When Garvin finally quit wrestling in 1990, he was 45 years old. His body was broken. His career was over. But unlike most wrestlers, he had a plan. He'd learned to fly planes back in the 1970s. Smart move. Garvin became a cargo pilot. He was good at it. He made decent money. He worked when he wanted to. He took 3 months off every year. For the first time in decades, he controlled his own schedule. The shoulder injury followed him into retirement. It got so bad he couldn't do his pilot job. But modern medicine saved him. Surgery in 1998 fixed what wrestling had broken. 2 weeks later, he was back in the cockpit. Garvin was smart with money. He saved during his wrestling career. He didn't blow it on cars and parties like other guys. When he retired, he was comfortable. He could work by choice, not because he had to. That's rare for wrestlers. He called his post-wrestling life fantastic. He had no regrets about his career. He'd do it all again if he could. But he was glad to be done. Wrestling had given him everything and taken everything. Now he could just be himself. But let's be honest about his legacy. Garvin's NWA title reign is remembered as one of the worst booking decisions ever. It hurt the company. It hurt the belt's prestige. It hurt Garvin's own reputation. What should have been his greatest moment became his biggest embarrassment. His WWF run was even worse. He went from world champion to comedy act to jobber in 2 years. That's not a career arc. That's a crash landing. Fans who only saw him in the WWF thought he was a joke. They never saw him at his best. The truth is more complicated. Garvin was a good wrestler trapped in bad situations. He was a realist in a fantasy world. He was a tough guy when fans wanted superheroes. He was the wrong man at the wrong time in the wrong place. His career shows what happens when talent meets terrible timing. Garvin could work, he could fight, he could tell a story in the ring, but he couldn't cut a promo. He couldn't play politics. He couldn't be fake when fake was what fans wanted. For a man with hands of stone, history didn't treat him with much softness. His biggest moment became his biggest mistake. His championship reign became a cautionary tale. His legacy became a lesson in what not to do. Ron Garvin was a fighter who never fully fit into the business side of wrestling. He achieved his dream and lost his passion. He reached the top and couldn't wait to come down. In the end, he was just too real for a fake world.